shoes. No, it wasn't Richmond Figment. It was Richmond.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
We'll invite anybody outside to come and join us inside. And of course, Shabbat Shalom to those of you that are joining us at home. It is great to be with you. It's a beautiful day outside, and that transfers into a beautiful day inside as well when we're here celebrating, welcoming in Shabbat together as a community. Our service begins with Shalom Aleichem on page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Yai Lai Lai Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ruachem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Yai Lai Lai Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yai la la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai yai la la la, yai la 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 la, yai la la, yai la.
This is one of those Shabbat evenings where there is a lot going on at the synagogue. Cantor Fishbein is next door with our family Shabbat experience. Becky is in the city with Tribe. Rabbi Perlman is on her way in Washington, D.C. with our 10th graders. And so we are dispersed everywhere, which makes it a really exciting weekend. And also happening this weekend is something else very exciting, and that is the bar mitzvah of Weston Bursch. And so to start us out this evening, we would like to invite his parents, David and Amy, to join us on the bima for the lighting of our Shabbat candles.
As we light these Shabbat candles, we link ourselves with the generations of our people who have kindled these holy flames. Time passes quickly, and we take this moment to pause and express our gratitude. We stand here as a family with humility and with love for this occasion, for one another, and for being a part of this sacred community. As we participate in this age-old ritual, we embrace this moment as we move forward in the cycle of our lives. Yesterday, we held our son in our arms, and tomorrow he will be called to the Torah as a bar mitzvah. These Shabbat candles remind us not only of the joy of this occasion, but they help us to see the light within one another and the strength that each of us possess. Grateful for all the precious gifts in our lives, we kindle the Sabbath lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kadoshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת. אמן.
So our service this evening, or Shabbat this week, comes at a time where we've seen a lot of things that have caused disruptions. We saw that massive, devastating earthquake in the Middle East. There was yet another terrorist attack incident in Israel this morning. There's unrest happening all over the world. And something that we remember is that Shabbat is our time to take a break, to take a breath. It's our kind of spiritual reminder of what it means to work to heal the world, and our spiritual reminder of that we need a moment of calm throughout all the disruption that comes our way. So with that, we enter into Shabbat with our Kabbalat Shabbat, our songs that bring joy and bring relief to a week and a world that can feel really hectic at times. So we'll continue with the singing of L'chad Odi. You can follow along in your prayer book if you'd like on page 20, or with the visual tefillah up here.
שמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת קלה הנה שבת לקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם ניסוחה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה הנה שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה הנה שבת נקבלה בואי בשלום עטרת בלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמונה סגולה בואי קלה, בואי קלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, הנה שבת לקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, הנה שבת לקבלה.
Turning ahead in our prayer books, we rise for Baruch Hu, page 146. Continuing with the Hebrew, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishaneh itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakohavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei hoshech, v'hoshech mipnei or.
מעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
We'll continue reading responsively. At each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world.
In each age, we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment, we stand face to face with truth.
In each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age, the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Continuing responsively, page 151. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai la lai la 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 la, yai lai lai la lai la 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 la, hai la lai lai la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, lo ra tehilo Osefele, Lora tehilo, Osefele. Malechutecha ra'uvanecha, Pokei hayam lifnei Moshe. Ze Eli anu ve'ameru, Ze Eli anu ve'ameru. Adonai yimloch olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, hai la lai la lai la 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 la, hai lai lai la lai la 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 la, hai la lai lai la 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 la, hai la lai lai la 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 la, yai la lai lai la 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 la.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. This prayer, Hashkivenu, that asks God to provide a shelter of peace over us, over all who dwell on earth. So a reminder of exactly what Shabbat is about. When there are shakes in the earth, when there are disruptions in the way that we connect with one another, if there are separations in how we live our lives from how we hope to live our lives, being here, being in God's shelter from life's storm is one way towards helping feel a little bit more calm as we come out of one week and enter into the next. We'll continue on page 155 as we rise for the blessings of the Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei bneihem, L'ma'an Shemo b'Ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah, Rav lehoshia, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We've reached the part of our service where our thoughts turn to those in need of healing, of body, mind, and spirit, or those in need of courage and hope. This week in our congregational community, we are keeping in mind Cindy Baker, Bob Broder, Ida Barbara Corvelli, Janice Cummins, Susie Fisher, Marcy Goldsmith, Alfred Marcus, Melissa Miller, and Wayne Pole. If you have a name that you would like to bring into this space, somebody in need of healing, I invite you to share the name and the relationship as my eyes meet yours. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. We now continue with the words of the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu, may the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה אבותינו, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
From the healing of the body, we now turn to the healing of the world and pray for peace. Adon HaShalom, Melech Shalom Shalom, source of peace, ruler of peace, grant peace to your people Israel, and let peace spread amongst all your creatures, so that there may be no hatred, jealousy, competition, or any victory among people. Let there be only great love and peace among us all, so that we may all gather together, each with their fellow human, speaking to each other, learning the truth from each other. Adon HaShalom, Barchenu Bashalom, source of peace, bless us with peace. We now sing together the words of Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם.
With those prayers for peace in mind, we now pray silently.
רצון אמרי פי וגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי וגואלי
It's Saturday, November 4th, 1995. I'm 9 years old. My family had just sat down for Shabbat lunch, and my dad was blessing the wine, and the phone just would not stop ringing. Eventually, my mom decided to pick up the phone, and she heard the news. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin had just been shot. The following day, my parents took us to a memorial rally in front of the Israeli embassy on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. Perhaps this is an odd place to bring a child, but I'm so glad they did, as I have been deeply connected to Israel ever since. There were thousands of people there, and the street was so full that it was actually closed off to accommodate everyone. I understood for the first time that what happened in Israel affected me here. And perhaps even more relevant for us at this moment, what I did here affected people in Israel. Maybe you also remember that moment, or perhaps you had a similar feeling at another point in your own Israel story. I want to pause here to say that talking about Israel is hard and can be a little scary. We worry about saying the wrong thing and disagreeing publicly with each other. To be clear, I definitely do not expect all of us in this room to agree on everything when it comes to Israel, but we have to be able to have tough conversations. Our Jewish tradition speaks of machloket l'shem shamayim, arguing for the sake of heaven. There can be holiness in disagreement. In order to be in relationship with each other, to cultivate closeness, I want us to be able to say hard truths and discuss complex realities, to experiment, to try on what we think, to talk about how we feel, especially on more challenging topics, and in particular on Israel. American Jews have a long-standing relationship, and we have a vested interest in Israel's survival and safety, and making sure that Israel lives up to the prophetic words in its Declaration of Independence, ensuring complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. I know we can have this conversation because we have a trusting community here, and it's too important not to. I've been so impressed by TBJ's commitment to Israel, and so really, if we can't talk about it, then who can? I hope this is the beginning of a conversation for me with all of you, but I know that this has been a significant topic for TBJ for a long time and will continue to be. I'm sure Rabbi Gewirtz will be sharing all about his time in Israel when he's back from sabbatical. And we are a congregation that takes our love of Israel and our desire for honest dialogue seriously, which happens through the Resetting the Table program, another session will be starting in a few weeks, and meeting with different kinds of people in Israel on the many trips there that this congregation has taken over the years. When we see that others' critique of Israel is veering into anti-Semitism, we call that out too. In our polarized world, it's increasingly challenging to have nuanced dialogue about Israel that comes from a place of love, but I think we can do it. And I believe that this too is part of our Jewish mandate. And I think little kids may have something to say also, so that's okay. So what has been happening in Israel recently? It's a little hard for me to know where to start exactly, as issues related to Israel's democracy have long preceded this current moment. But since the most recent election this fall, the 5th in 3 years, the new governing coalition has put a much finer point on these problems. Rabbi Rick Jacobs, president of the Union of Reform Judaism, recently wrote, "Loud voices within the new Israeli government are distinguished by their hatred for those who are not like them. Non-Orthodox Jews, LGBTQ+ individuals, Palestinian Israeli citizens, Palestinians, immigrants, and others." He continued, "The extremist political agenda of this new government is profoundly distressing, representing radical policy shifts that are antithetical to the core values of liberal Jews. These proposed policy shifts are frightening to me. The Justice Minister has suggested changes that would absolutely gut Israel's judiciary by giving the Knesset the power to override Supreme Court justices' decisions with a simple 51% majority. If this bill is passed, the separation of powers would be non-existent. While elections are essential to maintaining a democracy, they're not the only thing. We need an independent judiciary, a system of checks and balances, and a way to ensure minority rights. All of these things are now more in danger in Israel than ever before. Even democratically elected governments such as this one that is currently in power can dismantle democracy. We have many current examples of that: Hungary, Russia, Turkey, to name a few, and some past ones as well. Many Israelis are extremely concerned about what is going on. Over the past few weeks, there have been huge protests all over Israel. A couple of weeks ago, as you can see in these pictures, 100,000 people came together in Tel Aviv in the pouring rain on a Saturday night after Shabbat to say that they will not stand for this. High-tech workers, senior members of the Army Reserves, Reform Jews in Israel, and others have been organizing protests out of fear that the Israel they love will soon be unrecognizable. The Saturday night protests have continued week after week, drawing tens of thousands of people. Israel's Attorney General said that the proposed legislation would, quote, fundamentally change the democratic nature of the state's governance. I'm glad that so many in Israel are taking these threats seriously and speaking out for their values. And I think we should follow their lead. One of the things that's scary about publicly critiquing Israel is that it can feel like it opens ourselves up to anti-Semitism. But even some of Israel's closest friends in the US are speaking out. New York Times op-ed columnist Bret Stephens recently had a very powerful piece, and the CEO of the New York Federation, Eric Goldstein, sent out a letter to supporters. He said he's increasingly worried that proposed legislation will, quote, undermine the very foundation of Israel's democracy and subject all minority groups to the tyranny of the majority. And just this past week, J.P. Morgan Chase, a major investor in Israeli business, issued a report warning customers that investing in Israel right now is risky. The proposed judicial reforms put forward by the new government, they wrote, would include allowing the Knesset to overturn decisions made by the Supreme Court by a simple majority, giving politicians more power in the appointment of judges, removing the obligation of ministers to respect the opinions of legal advisors attached to ministries, as well as removing a clause which allows further court oversight. According to Israeli political reporters, the government is hoping to bring these plans up for a vote before the end of February. The time for us to speak up is now. Even though we may be outsiders, we are not strangers. There is too much at stake for us to do nothing. If you are involved with an organization that works in Israel or a local Jewish organization, consider asking if they are taking a stand against this proposed legislation. Rabbi Josh Weinberg, the Vice President for Israel and Reform Zionism at the URJ, is speaking here at TBJ on Monday, and he will also have some concrete suggestions for how we can proceed. And of course, the other clergy and I are always happy to discuss this more. In this week's Torah portion, we have an amazing example of an outsider speaking up when he sees something happening that he believes is wrong. Yitro, Moses' father-in-law, was not an Israelite. He hadn't been a slave to Pharaoh in Egypt. He didn't cross the Red Sea. What Yitro does know, though, is his love and respect for Moses is great. And as an outsider who is also family, he can see the danger of concentrating power too narrowly. Yitro observes how every dispute that the Israelites have comes before Moses for him to adjudicate by himself. Yitro witnesses how hard Moses is working and thinks he needs some help. He's worried both about his son-in-law's well-being and also that Moses was maybe replicating the role of Pharaoh, not as a king with slaves, but with all of this unchecked power on top. With love and some criticism, Yitro offers the following: Lo tov hadavar asher ata oseh. This thing that you are doing is not good. You will surely wear yourself out, both you and the people that is with you. This moment inspires Moses to set up a judicial system where more people are involved, more people can mediate, and he is not the only one with power. Of course, many, if not all of us here, are not Israelis. We have not fought in Israel's wars. We do not pay taxes in Israel. Our children don't serve in the IDF. Like Yitro, we are also outsiders. But as Jews, what happens in Israel is also on us. We also feel compelled to uphold the mandate set out in Israel's Declaration of Independence, ensuring democracy and equality for all of Israel's inhabitants, and making sure that everyone can have equal access to a legal system is a significant part of that. If we take Yitro as an example, we know that we can step in when we see something wrong, even in Israel. Especially in Israel, we can raise our voices. Lo tov hadavar asher ata oseh. This thing you are doing is not good. Let's follow the lead of those who have been protesting week after week, even when it's dark and cold and pouring rain. Like Moses and Yitro, we are in relationship with Israel, and we can also offer a critique for the sake of heaven and for the sake of our beloved Israel. Just as we raised our voices here in the US in support of Israel when the country was mourning the murder of Prime Minister Rabin, so too do I think we need to raise our voices now in protest. We can do this out of love and care. We pray for Israel when we need to, which is sadly more often than we perhaps would like. We lobby on Israel's behalf when we need to, like our 10th graders who are in DC this weekend with the Religious Action Center. We can speak out when we need to, and we can always sing. Following Rabin's assassination, Shir LaShalom, the song for peace, which we are about to hear, became an unofficial anthem for Israelis who wanted Israel to be at peace with itself and with its neighbors. One of my favorite lines of the song is, Al tagidu yom yavo, haviu et hayom. Don't say the day will come, bring the day. Today, we can also do the same. Shabbat Shalom.
תנו לשמש לעלות, לבוקר להאיר, הזעקה שבתפילות אותנו לא תחזיר. מי אשר קבע נרו ובעפר נטמע, בחימה לא יאירו, לא יחזירו לכאן. איש אותנו לא ישיב, מבור תחתית אפל, כאן לא יועילו לו שירי הניצחון ולא שירי הלב. על כן רק שירו שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה, מוטב תשירו שיר לשלום בצעקה גדולה. תנו לשמש לחדור מבעד לפרחים, אל תביטו לאחור, הניחו לחוכים. שאו עיניים בתקווה, לא דרך כוונות, שירו שיר לאהבה ולא למלחמות. אל תגידו לא יבוא, הביאו את היום, כי לא חלום הוא, ובכל הכיכרות הביאו לשלום. אתם רק שירו שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה, מוטב תשירו שיר לשלום בצעקה גדולה. לכן רק שירו שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה, מוטב תשירו שיר לשלום בצעקה גדולה.
We now rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We now come to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, the words that honor the lives of those in our families and our communities who we have lost. As part of honoring their memory, if you hear the name of a loved one, if you feel so inclined, we invite you to rise in honor of their memory. We're in a period of Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning, remembering Rini Parvin, wife of the late Alan Parvin, mother of Andrew and Joni, Roy and Janet, and Jeffrey and Francis, grandmother of Drew, Allie, Matthew, and Laura, and sister of Robert Broder. We remember Donald Goldman, husband of Barbara, father of Deborah and Manny and Jennifer and David, grandfather of Rachel, Alexa, Melissa, and Meredith. We're in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, for Walter Pedowitz, Eduardo Weishelbaum, Joel David Fivis, Mark Heller, Alan Rosenberg, Barbara Goldsmith-Blau, Robert Cowan Jr., Stephen Halpern, and Edward Hyens. It's the yard site, the anniversary of the passing of Betty Altman, A. Avram Apter, Ann Bach, Lawrence N. Barish, Harry Black, Bernard Blum, Leopold L. Blum, Philip Brous, Lena Fox Cohen, Arthur David, Louis Deutsch, Dorothy Deutsch, Eli Ellis, Helen Fadam, Jean Fain, Rose Pollock Feinberg, Mamie Feldman, Emma Freund, Benjamin Friedman, Helen Friedman, Eleanor Froelich, Rose Froman, Harry Gluckman, Gerald Allen Goldberg, Lois Goldberg, Mervyn H. Goldsmith, Ruth Benjamin Goodman, Jack Gerson Gould, Sarah N. Grayson, Rose Eckel Greenstein, Cantor Manfred Hecht, Muriel Ebby Human, Saul Israel, Fred Schwartzstein, Joseph Karp, Lawrence Katz King, Florence Bierman Korn, Jean A. Kramer, Dr. Adrian Ralph Christeller, Michael Levine, Milton Lillian, Eva Mannheim, Dr. Benjamin Gerald Morrison, Lillian Myers, Clara S. Oberski, Judith Ann Ornstein, Bonnie Pulker, Sadie Poteski, Frida Rebenfeld, Simon L. Rothenberg, Eugene R. Salin, Abraham Schlosser, Paula Siegel, Gerard Schifrin, Dr. Edward Schneerson, Jacob Simon, Sarah Cassover-Slobodian, Solomon Steiner, Warren H. Victor, Morris O. Weitzman, Carolyn Claire Weiderman, and Mary Ruth Wildstein. And we'll join together, rising as one sacred community as we recite the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'yizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing. Please be seated. So a few things happening that I want to point out before we begin to conclude our service. I'll invite you to take a look at your order of worship. There is a lot in there. And starting with the important message that came from the sermon this evening, and there is an opportunity to follow up on that conversation on Monday, where Rabbi Josh Weinberg will be here to speak with us Monday at 1 p.m. We hope you'll join us. A few other things that are happening. Our Night of Shabbat dinners, Friday, March 3rd. There's still time to sign up. And also, in addition, on Wednesday, February 15th, Rabbi Gwertz will be in conversation. I know he's on sabbatical, but this is part of his sabbatical, but we're sharing it with you. A program called Leading from Faith, a conversation between the Black and Jewish communities. And we hope you'll join us for that and more. Everything is in your order of worship. But before that, we have a very exciting thing happening this weekend, and that is the Bar Mitzvah of Westenbush. So we'll invite him up to join us to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. Wes, we have a couple of things for you before you start. First, we have this. This is a certificate that gives you on a URJ, Union for Reform Judaism trip to Israel, a gift certificate towards that. So we'll give that to you. You'll take that, give that to your parents for safekeeping. And we also have for you a Kiddush cup. This Kiddush cup is a gift from our Temple's Women's Association and Brotherhood, something that we will hope that you won't only use tonight, but for many, many more joyous occasions to come. I'll give that to you. I'll let you take it away. Don't go straight into that.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon Hinhi lanu zikaron lema'aseh vereshit ki hu yom tehila lemigra'e kodesh zeher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'harta ve'otanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodsheha be'ahava uvratzon hinaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat.
Here, and you can do motzi. Go ahead.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lehem min haaretz.
Amen.
Take that with you. Take these two with you. Thank you. You're good to go. You take that with you too. We're all very excited for tomorrow. It's going to be a great day. And with that,
we're going to close with piece by Izachar Miron, who he grew up in Poland in the 20s, and he was Israel's first minister of culture, appointed by David Ben-Gurion. And I had the pleasure of knowing him and his wife. And we wish you all a peaceful Shabbat, and how lovely today is, this day of Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom, Mayafer Hayom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.